In this video, I'm going to show you some exercises to help address one of the most common underlying issues that prevents older players from hitting good quality one-handed backhands, especially low backhands. Now, before you get upset with me, I include me in older. I'm 44. So if you're in your 50s or 60s and you feel like you move well and this isn't a problem for you, that is awesome. But you probably don't move as well as you did when you were 18, and this is going to apply to a lot of players out there. So with that qualification said, hopefully you enjoy the video. If you do, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, always much appreciated if you could do that as well. So what am I talking about here? Well, I'm talking about your hip flexor flexibility and strength as well. A lot of players can't hit a good one-handed backhand, basically because the back leg, the hip flexor, doesn't allow them to. It restricts their movement, so they can't lunge properly into the ball, and they're not able to rotate and use their hips in lunging positions, so that then they can effectively use their kinetic chain. And this used to apply to me. I had to work long and hard at this. When I arrived in Canada, it was 14 years ago, I was working at a club, and a couple of the coaches there, who were good friends of mine, used to make fun of my one-handed backhand, calling me a duck ass, because whenever I would try and hit it, I would do this because my hip flexors were too tight. So what I'm going to do here is show you two of my favorite exercises that have been really helpful for me in opening up my hip flexors, and then first allowing me to get a good one-handed backhand on my right hand, but then now I've started playing left-handed, has also enabled me to develop a reasonable one-hander with my left hand as well. One, we're going to work on a pure hip flexor quad stretch. I sometimes like to do this at home with a sofa behind me so I can lean back and relax. Here I'm going to be relaxing onto my hands. You want to make sure that you put something soft under your knees. Not going to be very comfy to do this on a tennis court without a towel, but I'm doing it and I'm just resting back. And when you get into this position, depending how flexible you are, you might feel it in your quads. Now for me, I haven't done any warm-up or stretching this morning, so I'm going in cold. So what we'll probably find is, as I maintain this position, that I can start to go a little bit further, and it's starting to happen. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm thinking about a couple of things. So firstly, I want a posterior pelvic tilt. I don't want my back arched like I've just described. I'm going to be tilting my pelvis back. So you want to think about kind of tensing your glutes to make that happen. So then I'm just going to be in this position. And then there's a couple of methods you can use to get things to increase. So firstly, I can squeeze my glutes intentionally. So the glutes are in opposition to the quads. So think about it like your arm. If I bend my arm, my bicep is contracting, my tricep has to relax. Same thing we got going on here. So as I squeeze and contract my glutes, it tends to encourage my quads to relax. So I can maybe squeeze for a few seconds and then relax for a few seconds. I can also do it the other way. So I can also try and straighten my legs. You might not go too far, but I'm going to try and straighten my legs, and that's going to help to kind of build a little bit of strength in the quads, in the hip flexors in this position. So I can squeeze that for a few seconds and relax. And often you can go just a little bit further after you relax. So I can alternate between that. I can squeeze the glutes and relax, and then squeeze the quads and relax. And then I can also do long, slow exhalation-based breathing. So breathing in for like 2-3 seconds, and then pursing the lips and breathing out for maybe 4-6 seconds, so basically twice as long as you took to inhale. And this encourages the nervous system to relax. And between kind of squeezing the glutes and relaxing, squeezing the quads and relaxing, and then periods of long, slow exhalation-based breathing, you should be able to open things up and start to go lower and lower. So we can also vary the position of our legs. So I can have my legs close together to focus more on the outside of the quads, or I can start to increase the width of my legs, and depending how flexible you are, you can take it further, and then you'll start to get into, hip flexors, a little bit of adductors as well, because it's, it's a close thing between them. But again, you always want to be tilting the pelvis back in this position. But this is exercise one. I tend to spend a couple of minutes down there, then have a break and do that a few times. And that's a really helpful thing for me to do. And it's one of the things that I prioritize doing every day. And then the second exercise is going to be a blend of strength and flexibility. So for this one, we're going to be working on a lunge. So from a right-hander, well, we're going to do both sides, but I'm just demonstrating the most important leg if you're a right-hander. So for the lunge position, sometimes you hear people saying that your knee shouldn't go over your toe, stuff like that. Ignore them. Knees are designed to go over toes, so we're going to be pushing over the toes. But what we're focusing on is this back leg. So for me, this is a decent stretch in this position. But I basically want to play around in here. So I want to find the part that is tight, and for me, definitely tight there, and just kind of play around and move up and down in this area and just get my brain used to being in this position. On the back leg, I can actually also squeeze the glutes. So just like I described a moment ago, I can be in this position, I can think about squeezing this glute to try and open it up. But basically what we're going to be doing is playing around with doing lunges in these positions. So you don't need to go all the way up. We're working on strengthening this end range of motion. So maybe I might just do 8, 10, 12 reps in there where I'm kind of really feeling it. Sometimes I can stay down for longer. Sometimes I can bounce up more quickly. I can also kind of open up my knee a little bit, see if I can get some range into my adductors. And again, you can see that I'm not massively flexible. I've worked at this a lot. You know, I'm way less flexible than a lot of people, but it's a case of you, wherever your starting point is, working on it. You need to be strong enough to be down in these positions, because if I can't be in this position, I'm not going to be comfortable when I'm moving around the court. And you need to be flexible enough, and you can only kind of play within the confines of your strength and flexibility allowances. Okay, so 2 simple exercises that you can work on. They're the sort of thing that you can do pretty regularly. Spending 5 minutes on them a day can go a long way. But realistically, in addition to increasing your leg strength and flexibility, there might be other things that you need to address that are really preventing you from playing tennis in the way that you want. One of the biggest issues I find for most adult tennis players, especially older players, is how well the visual system is functioning. Because it's not functioning well enough, players can't read the flight of the ball quickly enough, and they're not able to track it effectively through the contact. The good news is you can actually train and improve that, and if you'd like to learn more about how to do that, I've created a free masterclass. I'll place a link to it down in the description, or you can go to tennishacker.net/vision to learn more and register.